Okay, let's get started with our Webflow site. We are going to use a Webflow template to begin with. There are many templates that we could use. I love how vibrant the community is and how professional the templates are. So there's lots of different options for templates that we can use to build our site on. One thing to say is that we will cover the tool Reloom in a future video, which is a fantastic way to build in Webflow, to move away from templates and to have the freedom to build the site in exactly the way that we want to build the site. And Reloom gives us different building blocks. It's a very modular approach to building a website. So you may start with any choice of your hero section, and then you may choose a distinct layout that you like the look of that gives you a feature section, and then you lay out the blog section of your site in the way that you want to lay it out. It gives you lots of options to lay out your site in a way, in the way that you want to lay it out. And the thing about that then is that we could go down to the nitty gritty, if that's a term that you recognize in the States. But we can go down and be very detailed in our approach to how we build in Webflow, because it's so flexible. It gives us so many options for design. But to step back from that freedom, I find often helps us to get better results. Because where there's a great deal of flexibility, then we need to have a designer's eye to be able to lay things out in a way that makes sense, in a way that's cohesive and helps our users to move through the site in a way that makes sense. And to use a template gets us there very, very quickly. So in a future video, we'll look at how to build with Reloom, including this feature that I've been waiting for a long time, months, perhaps even over a year. They talked about this AI-powered style guides using Reloom. And so Reloom has been fantastic for the modular building blocks, but they come in black and white. And what has just been released into beta is the ability to style the site using AI and using a branded identity, which is then rolled out across the site. And so we had the building blocks, now we have building blocks and style. And so that's very, very powerful, I think, moving forward to building Webflow that way. So we are going to build with a template today. We will look back and build with Reloom building blocks. But for now, we'll stick to a template. This is the simple site that we're going to build together just so that we can get up and running and to be able to integrate Webflow CMS with our automated content creation, staging, and Airtable. So we will build this site, and I'll show you the template that we're going to begin with. This is where we're going to. We'll use the Rightology template to get there. So one thing to say is that I won't use my mouse for everything. I think it's super helpful to just have an understanding of some simple keyboard shortcuts that we can use. So I will drop this link into the lesson next to the video. But also, if we just have a quick look here just now, if I search on this page for class, this line here, so the style panel shortcuts, we want to be able to move to the style panel quickly, especially where we're going through this process of customizing our template to hide some elements. We'll have to go to the style panel, and to get there quickly, on my Mac, I'll hit Command and Enter. And on a Windows machine, you can hit Control and Enter to get there. The other one to keep in mind is a very simple one. So we want to show the navigator panel, and we're just going to use the Z key. That opens the navigator panel on the left-hand side of the page. So we're going to use Command and Return or Control and Return on a Mac, and the Z key for the navigator panel on the left-hand side. Those are just a couple of keyboard shortcuts that we'll use. And with that, let's get into it. So we're going to move as quickly as we can. We're going to take the template as it is, and to keep things simple, we're going to hide certain elements of the template to get the template so that it looks just like the one I prepared over here, which is the Sticks Talk site. Okay, so I'm logged into Webflow. I have an account logged in. I'm going to click New Site. We're going to choose the template option, and I'm going to see more templates in the marketplace. And then I can search Rightology. And this just helps if you follow along with the same template that we're building with, then it will make sense what you're seeing on the screen and what you're seeing on your own device as you build as well. So we'll click on View Details, Use for Free, and Create Site. Okay, so let's edit this layout. We're going to make this template look like the example site that I have over here. And then we can begin to update the CMS. So what we first of all need to do is we need to understand the layout and the structure of the page. There's a few things just to pay attention to. So if we open up the left-hand navigator panel, we could click on this icon here, which opens the panel, and I can click to close it again. And we said that we can use the Z key on our keyboard as a keyboard shortcut. So I can open that panel and close it just by clicking on the Z key. That's important. So let's look at the structure of the page just now. If I was to collapse everything with this button here, then we see that the body is the first highest part of the hierarchy. And the body then would be everything that's within this window. Everything that you see inside as I scroll down, everything there sits within the main div, which has the class name body. And then inside the body, we have a box, which is a div, and its class name is page wrapper. And if we step down one level at a time, we get deeper and deeper into the structure and the layout of the page. We can click each drop down to see, or we can shrink it all back again and click again to expand everything so that we can see the entire structure of the page. Now there's some color coding to pay attention to. So the green elements, first of all, we would refer to these as components. And a component is a group of elements that have been laid out on the page, styled into the way that the designer wants it to be styled and laid out, and then wrapped inside of an overall class. And that's saved as a building block in its own right. So if we look down through the page, we've got something simpler, perhaps. So in this section here, we've got a headline, a subhead, and then another box that contains images. So each of these individual elements stands alone on its own, but they also live inside of this component here that we see premium content. And so it's important to understand the difference between an element of the page that stands alone and is there in its own right, and then to understand also that there are some elements that are grouped together into components. And the reason I'm highlighting this is because if I want to interact with this text here, how to choose the best management software, I can click on it and I can begin to interact with it straight away. But if there's an element on the page that sits within a component, and we can see the components because they're green, if there's an element on the page that sits within a component, then I need one extra click to get to the level where I can begin to interact with those. So I can do it in two ways. If I click on a component from the navigator panel, so that's something in green, there are some components down at the bottom here. So a footer is a component. There's a block called premium content, which is a component, and the sidebar as well. But let's interact with the header component to begin with, which is green. So I can either, when I come, I'll move the cursor away from the navigator panel. So I'm inside the component here now, and I know that because I've clicked on it. When I hover over the component, we can see that it's highlighted on the page, so I can see where the component lies. I click on it, and now to interact with these elements, I can either double click on this area, or I can click the spanner on the right-hand side. Okay, so if I click the spanner now, that takes us in. So everything else on the page is grayed out. We're no longer interacting with the page as a whole. We're now interacting with that particular component. And it's important to understand that because it's just one level deeper so that we can interact with the elements that live inside of a component. So that's one thing to say. So I'll click out of that again, and I hit the Z key so I can open the navigator panel. I can see that we've got white elements, we've got green elements, which we now know are components, and then the purple elements. If something is purple, it means that there's a link, a content link between that element and the content that's in the CMS. So if you've watched our earlier video on Webflow, you'll understand that the blog post content lives inside of a CMS, the content management system. So it lives inside of a collection. So for example, the blog posts CMS collection. So you can see the first one is 5 ways to improve your digital product. 5 ways to improve your digital project management. And if I come back and click on this page icon here, or I could hit P, which is the keyboard shortcut, then we come here and we can see, let's close this navigator panel. 5 ways to improve your digital project management. So I can see this purple color as a visual cue, whether we are in the main design and editing section of the page or inside the navigator panel. This purple color serves as a visual cue to show us that this content or this element has a link to the CMS. So let me show you what I mean by that then. So this section here, we've got a collection list wrapper, and that means that there is, because it's purple, it's got a link to the CMS. But if I want to know what the link is to the CMS, I could click here on collection list wrapper. I hit Z to close the navigator panel, and I can see that there's a cog here. So this is selected already. I haven't clicked again. There's a cog here, and I could click on this. And it shows me that the collection list that's driving this particular collection is the blog posts collection. And we could go into the CMS and see the blog post collection. There's another way to see what the link is. If I click on collection list wrapper again, I'll hit Z to close the navigator panel. And I come across to the right-hand side and click on settings and scroll down. I can see that the source of this collection, so the content that's being pulled in from the CMS collection, the content is coming from the blog posts collection. Okay. So we have green elements, which are components. Those are groups of elements. We've got purple elements on the page, and that demonstrates a link to the CMS. And we've got white ones, which are standalone. So with the navigator panel open, let's shrink everything, collapse everything. I'm going to click on body. I'm going to hit plus, and I'm going to go down to div block, and I'll click on div block. If I open the navigator panel again, we'll see that we had the body that we clicked on. And so inside the body now, we've dropped a building block for our page, which we refer to as a div block. And now we want to give that a style or a class. So clicking on the div block, I'm going to use my mouse to go across to the right-hand side, click on style, and then click into the style selector. And that's where we can create one of the important parts of editing this template. We'll create a class called hide, and that'll help us to hide things. So I'll show you how to do that again. If I click on the div block again, and then to go across to the style selector, we can use the keyboard shortcut. So if I use command and return, that opens this dialog here, and I can type in. So I'm just going to type hide. And you can see it's suggesting a new class. It gives us the option of clicking on any of the existing classes. So I can click on create hide. I'll do that now. So we've created a div block and we've styled the div block, or we've given it a class name of hide. And the next step to be able to use this div block to hide elements in our template is just to click on none. So display none. If I click on that, then this goes away. So it was underneath this section. I'll just use Command and Z or Control and Z to go back a step. That's the keyboard shortcut for undo. And so we can see that the div block is at the bottom of the page here. And I'm just going to click on none. So that's display none. That just is represented in the navigator panel with the slash or like an eyeball, I guess. So that's display none. So what we've done is we've created the ability now to take that class and create a combo class. So any class that's been applied to any other element on this page, we can now layer on top of it our hide class. And that will leave the styling in place for every single element so that we could bring it back later when we want to bring it back into the template and make use of these extra sections. But for now, we just want to be able to apply this combo class or create a combo class using our hide class, and that hides anything on the page. So I'll show you how to use that now then. So if we go back into the navigator panel, we'll go to our hide div block. We actually don't need it within the structure of the page anymore. So I'm clicking on it and I'm going to hit delete with my keyboard. And so now it's gone. We don't see it on the page, but we've still, in the background, we've created this ability to use hide as a combo class. So let's look at how to do that now then. So the first thing that we want to do is take away the logo and just use a heading instead. So if we go to the header instance, double click in here, and then click on the logo itself. Now, what we always want to be careful to do is that we always want to interact with the correct building block on the page. And the way to do that is to click on what you think that you want to edit, and then hit the keyboard shortcut Z to open the panel, the navigator panel on the left-hand side. And then we can go there and we can say, okay, so it's not actually the image that we want to take away. It's this whole link altogether that we want to take away, or we want to hide the image and replace it with some text. So we'll do that. So if I click on header logo link, which is a div block that is wrapping the logo, and the header logo link has the ability to apply a link. So it's a clickable link. And that's what we want to maintain. But we don't want to have the logo. You could interact with this. You could click on the cog and replace image and add in your own logo. But we'll keep things simple. What we'll do is we'll go to header logo link, and we'll click on plus, and we'll drop in a heading. So I'll click on heading. So what we've done is we click on the heading, open the navigator panel. You can see now that inside of that header logo link, we still have the logo, and now we have a heading. So just in our example, we're going to call this site Sticks Talk for a drumming site. So Sticks Talk, and then click again here. I just clicked outside of it after I finished typing. Open the navigator panel, and let's just take away this logo. So we're going to use our keyboard shortcut. You could click over here. So we've identified that we want to hide the header logo. You could just click over here inside the style selector. If I show you with the keyboard shortcut, we'll just move more quickly. So I open the navigator panel, make sure that I'm on the right element. Sometimes you can click on an element on the page and it looks like it's the part of the page that you want to interact with, but it may be nested inside of the actual element that you want to hide. So in this case, we're fine. We're on the header logo, and I'm going to use Command and Return. So the cursor is now inside of the style selector, and we're going to type hide. So HIDE, and you can see this option to either use a global combo class, where it's hidden on a specific device type, and some other options here, or we can create a new combo class, which is create hide. So we want to do that. So now what we've done is we've dropped in a new heading so that this could be edited to be the title of our site. And on the header logo, we haven't taken it away. I want to try and work in a way for us at the moment until we find our way around Webflow. I want to work in a non-destructive manner. So we're hiding elements as opposed to removing elements altogether. And if I wanted to reveal the logo again, I could click on the logo, use my keyboard shortcut to get to the style selector and just hit delete once or backspace. It takes away the hide part of that combo class, and you can see on the main section of the page, you can see the logos back again. So if I wanted to undo, I'll click outside the style selector, Command Z or Control Z, and we've reapplied that class. So this is how we're going to work quickly at the moment. We're just going to apply the hide class to the elements that we don't want to use, keep the site super simple for now, and then we'll be able to port in our CMS data and publish it to Webflow. So we use this site again as a reference. We just want to have home and contact on the page. So if I click, so I'm still inside of this, double-clicked inside of this header element, and we're going to hide the drop-down elements of the menu and just leave home and contact. So click on pages to begin with. Open navigator panel with the Z key, and we want to try and identify what is the div block that we actually want to hide, as opposed to hiding things that are inside the main div block that we would really like to hide, because that'll leave things on the page even though we can't see them, and it might mess with our layout. So on the navigator panel, we hover over different parts of the hierarchy. You can see the cursor on the main screen and the header is moving to show us what we're actually hovering over. So we've identified then, if we click on header nav menu list, then we can see that the highlighted section wraps all of the navigation options, all of the buttons or text links. So if I just collapse this header nav list item, we'll see that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 header nav list items, and we want to hide the second, the third, and the fifth one. So in here, if I click on the second one, and then I'll use my command and return or control and return. I'll begin to use just command and return. But you know, if you're on a Windows machine, you can use control and return. So go to the style selector, type hide, and we want to take this new combo class, create hide. So the combo class now, instead of being header nav list item, middle, it's now going to be header nav list item, middle, and hide. And that last part is the one, obviously, that's hiding the element that we want to take away. So we can either hit return or click to create hide. So we'll just hit return. And now we're down to 4. So we still want to take away the second and the fourth one. So if we hover on the one until we get to the item we want to hide, go to the style panel, hide. I've just used the cursor key down to move down, and it's now hovering over hide, and now I can hit return. And that's gone. And then this subscribe one. So I've clicked on subscribe. I'll hit Z to open the navigator panel. I'll click at one level, and let's hide that. Okay, so a few other things that we should hide just now. Let's keep it super clean, and we'll hide the social nav as well at the moment. So click Z to open the navigator panel. And let's see what happens here. So we've got header middle. So if I click on Z to just reveal this part of the page, we'll see what we're working with. Header content wrapper, and then close the navigator panel, and we can see that that's the whole thing. So let's take header top wrapper, and let's hide this one and then see what happens. Okay, so we'll hide this section using the keyboard shortcut to interact with the style selector over here again. Okay, so what we've done is we've hidden too much. and we want to be able to go back a step. So we hit Command and Z or Control and Z, and that takes us back again. Okay, we'll make a mistake, we can go back a step. No panic. So let's go in again. And so we did the header top wrapper. So let's do header middle. It's still wrapping all of those items. Div block still in there. So we'll hide header middle. And is that what we want? It's not what we want. So it's taken the title from the middle of the line and shifted it all to the left. So let's just take a step back. This is just the simplest interactions with Webflow Designer. Go to, we're going to leave the header middle div block in place. We'll go down another one, hide existing class, and we have taken that away. So it's gone slightly off center, but we'll do the same with this here on the right hand side and recenter, I'm sure. So if we go to the right hand side, header right side, hide, okay, go back a step. We may have to hide these individually. It's one, this div block here, the last one. Okay, so we've hidden to match this site. All we've got left is the title, which could be a logo if you want it to be. You can change the image instead of adding in the text if you like. And then we've got home and contact. Okay, so let's keep going then. So if we come down the page, what else do we want to hide for now? We're okay with this feature panel. This is all content, so we're okay with this just now as well. And the thing to say about this is that whilst I would have liked you to have been able to click on a button and pull in this template, then it would have been against licensing. So even though it's a free template, I can't then style the template for you and then allow you to pull it into your Webflow account. I need to be able to walk you through it, and then that just helps you to understand where we are and how best to interact with the site so you can make your own changes as well moving forward. So let's see, we've got this kit form, so we'll get there. Let's take we just go to this popular article part. That's what we want to have on the right-hand side here. So we'll double click into this or single click into it, look in the navigator panel. You can see that the sidebar is a component in its own right, and the components are here if you need to pull them in for other places on your site. So sidebar, we could click on this banner, or we can double click in, and now we're interacting with the sidebar. And we want to get to this popular articles part to have that right up at the top so it's in line with latest articles. So let's see what we can do. We'll click inside, open the navigator panel. So where are we? We've got the logo sidebar. We've got a paragraph element, search, divider. We've got collection list wrapper, which is holding tags, tag navigation. And then we have a feature panel for our post. Let's leave the feature panel. Okay, so logo sidebar. We'll hide, create the hide combo class. This bottom part here. And just to reiterate as well, we're using our combo class because if I was to click on MG bottom 24 pixel, and if I was to set that to display none, it would take every element of the MG bottom 24 pixel class, and instead of it being a display block, we would set every single element that has that class applied. It would then disappear from the site. And we don't want to do that. We just want to hide the individual parts of the site that we don't want to see at the moment. So that said, let's hide this element, hide the search. So again, I've clicked on the search bar, I check in the navigator panel, and I see that I want to come up a level, one higher, and then I'm going to hide it at that level. Okay, so let's deal with that just now then. So there's a feature panel here, and there's a feature panel in the sidebar. So I just want to show you where those are coming from. So if we go into left-hand side here, click on the CMS, and it looks like disks stacked up, so for storage. Go to the blog posts, and if I click on this cog on the right-hand side of the blog posts, we'll just look to see what the different data points are within each blog post item. So each item has different line items or different data points. So we've got the title, we've got the link, which would be the slug, the path for that particular page. We've got a featured image, a thumbnail image. There's a data point for storing an excerpt from the post. You got the main blog post, which is rich text. Let me scroll up this right-hand side so we can see as well. The rich text here. And then we've got a toggle button. So is this particular post featured? So if that was clicked on, then I'll show you where that is. And then if this toggle is switched on, then it could be featured in the sidebar. So let's go and have a look to see how that's set up. We click on page, go back to the page that we're editing. We click into this section and hit Z for the navigator panel. We want to see, again, where this content is coming from. We know that it's coming from the CMS because it's purple. If we click on settings over here, we can see that it's blog posts. Well, let's just look to see here then. So we can see that this particular collection here has different settings that we can apply to. So there's a filter on there, and the filter says that the blog post is a primary feature. Remember, that's a data point within the blog post item. If that's toggled on, then we can see that post within this collection. If that is not toggled on, then we can't see it in the collection. Okay, so that's one part. I'll just click outside that. And also there's a display limit. So we can see that it's limited to one single item. And it means if we consider that in the CMS, the blog posts are stacked top to bottom, there's a display setting there that says we're going to take blog post number 1 of all of these posts which have the feature section toggled on. We're going to take the first one, so the latest one, top of the list, and we're only going to take one of them. I'll show you again. So the collection list wrapper, right-hand side, limit items to show one item, only a single item, and start at the first item. So the one that's at the top of the list. So of all of the blog posts that have this feature toggled on, we're going to show one of those, and we're going to start at the one that is at the top of the list. That's what that says. On the right-hand side as well, if we click on this one, we have to go inside the instance. So open the navigator panel, double-click on the sidebar instance, and we can see, okay, so this one, MG bottom 64 pixels on the left-hand side. I come over here, blog post is sidebar featured. So this filter, if the sidebar feature toggle is on, then it can be shown displayed in the sidebar at the top of the sidebar, and then it's limited to a single item. And then just further down here, so beneath this heading, so if I click on this heading and open the navigator panel, you can see it's heading H3 size, and there's a collection underneath there. The collection is just to show a group of CMS items and to style them and to repeat them as they go down the page, okay? So collection list wrapper. So this one is showing, click on the wrapper, go to the right-hand side, make sure we're on settings. We can see the source, blog posts, and we can see to limit the items, show 3 and start at 2. So we're taking the list, we're showing a maximum of 3, and we're going to start with the second item down in the list and show the next 2. So that's how that one's set up. Okay, so let's click on this play button at the top right here, toggle preview, and that just takes away the style panel and the navigator panel, lets us see it within the context of the device that we would be looking on. So let's deal with this just now. Now we're making changes. As we can see, being in preview mode, we're making changes to the desktop base breakpoint. We know it's the base breakpoint because it has a star. So if I make changes to the base breakpoint, so all of these edits that we've made so far, we were clicked on the base breakpoint. Now, if we were to be clicked onto the tablet breakpoint or the mobile horizontal breakpoint and make changes in here, then the changes would only move to the right. And what I mean by that is if I'm on the tablet breakpoint, I make changes, edits to the layout or the content of the tablet breakpoint, then that would be reflected in the devices that lie to the right. So that would take in a mobile landscape and mobile portrait. If I go back to the desktop breakpoint, because it's designated as the base breakpoint with the star, then any change there moves to the right. So tablet, mobile landscape, and mobile portrait, and also flows to the left. So that goes to larger screen and a 1920 pixel and up as well. So if we edit the base breakpoint, all of the changes flow to the devices on the right and also the devices on the left. If we edit a particular breakpoint, which is not the base breakpoint, if we're to the left of the base breakpoint, the changes will be reflected all the way to the left. If we're to the right of the base breakpoint, then all of the changes will be reflected on the devices to the right. Save yourself the trouble and make sure, just make a mental note that when you make edits on your site, make sure that if you've previewed other devices, make sure you click back to the base breakpoint. You would not be the first, and perhaps it's not the last time that I've made that mistake. You would not be the first person to make the mistake. I know that from experience. So try to make a mental note. Every time you make changes, make the changes to the base breakpoint, unless you specifically want to edit the layout of a particular device. So if we're editing on the base breakpoint, everything looks good for us here. And then if we go to a different device to preview how the site is laid out on a different device, then we want to fix something, then that's fine. We can edit within that breakpoint. But make sure that any changes, any broad and sweeping changes that you want to happen to the whole site, they have to happen on the base breakpoint. Okay. So far, we have taken away the logo. We've trimmed down the whole header section, less navigation items. We've hidden some of the sidebar. And if we go further down, we've got this premium section. Now, we're not going to use the premium section to begin with. So if I go to our example site, as I scroll down, we can see that that's hidden. It goes straight to a form in the footer. So we want to hide this whole premium section. So let's click to come out of preview. And we can see, if we just a quick visual reference to the top here, we can see that we are editing in the base breakpoint. Super important. So we're in the right place. I'm going to click on our component, open the navigator panel. We can see that this component is labeled premium content. Now, if I want to go to the style panel on the right and add our hide combo class, I can see that it's not there. That's because we're dealing with a component. So we need to click inside a component to be able to hide any elements of it. Now that's impractical for us just now. So how we're going to handle this is we're going to take the component, we're going to sit it inside a div block. We will apply the hide class to the div block. And then because the component with all of its grouped elements lies within the hide div block, then everything will be hidden. So that's how we handle hiding a component, okay? So if we collapse everything and just expand less of our hierarchy just to keep it simple, I want the div block to be available to me just beneath both of these section references. So I'll click on page wrapper because everything here is contained within the page wrapper. Click on plus, click on div, and then open the navigator again, and we have the div block, okay? It's there, but it's in the wrong place. So I'm going to drag it up to above premium content and let go. And I'll drag the premium content inside the div block. Now, if we go to preview the page again, it's still there. We haven't hidden it yet. All we've done is we've wrapped it in a div. So this whole section is the section that we're going to hide just now before we get to the bottom of the page. So open the navigator panel, go to the div block, keyboard shortcut to get to the style selector, type hide, and apply it to the div. And so now the premium content sits within a div block, which we've designated to be hidden. We preview again. So now that section's gone. So we'll leave this form in place at the moment. We could go all the way to the bottom of the page and we can double click on the footer component and we can interact with copyright down here, however we want to do that. So if we take away Powered by Webflow, just click right on the end and just deleting back and then click outside that section. It's very easy to interact with that and update this content. We'll click outside of it again, reveal it in the navigator panel. We can see it's just footer bottom and it's a paragraph element. So you can update that to be whatever you want it to be. I will just leave this section in place just now. So we're in good shape as far as having a layout from a template, from a simple template. We've adapted the layout using the ability to show and hide particular elements on the page. And we've cleaned up the layout so that we are only dealing with content. And once we go into edit the content that's in the CMS, then we'll be able to take our own content, take away this example CMS items, and then apply our own content into the CMS and then publish it to the page. So one more step to do for now. If we look at the example site, if we click on to a post, it takes us away from the main page, the main home page, and takes us to the post page. Okay. So at the moment, we've published the site to a Webflow staging area. And then we have, just looking through the URL, to the right of the main domain, the staging area domain, we've got /blog, which is the name of our CMS collection. And then to the right of the blog reference, we've got the path. And so if we look at where that's coming from, back inside the Webflow editor, we've got the domain, the collection name, and then the path. So let's go look at that just now then. So if I want to take this site as we've styled it, and I want to publish it without setting up a custom domain, we just want to be able to publish it online so that we can see what it looks. We can share that link around with our team, for example. We just want it to live online, but we're not publishing to a custom domain. Then this is how we would do it. You go to publish on the top right, and we can see that there's a staging area and a production area. We can click here to add a custom domain and go down that road. We won't do that just now. We've got the box checked on the staging area for case study build. And so when I click publish to selected domains, then our site will be published to the staging area and we'll be able to open it, pass that link around and open it on different devices. So if I click publish now, we're going to see publishing in progress and multiple steps, managing expectations about what Webflow is working on in the background before it's fully published. So we'll just wait until that goes live. And once it goes live, we'll have a link that we can click on that will open a new tab and show us the site as it looks online. We'll just give that time to do that. Okay, that's completed. If I want to unpublish that and then pull the site away from that link again later, I can click unpublish. But to view in a new tab, we can click on this arrow. And that is taking the site that we've edited with all of those elements that we've hidden. And this is the site as it looks now, published to the Webflow staging domain. So this URL, this is the staging domain. That's the first part. On my test site that was already published, we said we have the staging domain, the collection, and then the slug or the path of the individual post. So let's go and look at that. So inside the CMS collection, we can see blog posts here. If we click on the cog, we'll look at the settings for this particular CMS collection, and we can see that the collection name is blog posts, 2 words, but the collection URL has been designated on this line as just blog. And so on our test site, we can see that that part of the URL just here is blog. And then it says right-hand side blog post page. And the blog post page reference here would be replaced by the individual path for each post. So let's look at that just now. If I cancel out of these settings, if I go to the first post, just click inside of it, I can see that the link here, I can click to copy this link. And that's made up of the main domain, the collection reference, and then the slug or the path. And that's how that domain is made up. So that's what we can see in the URL at the top here. So what this tells us, it tells us that on this particular page of the test site, then we're looking at a live post. So we are we've got the main domain, and then we are inside the main domain. So we're not looking at the home page. We understand that. So this is the page that represents the post content when it gets published. So now that's important, because if we come back into our site to make our edits, we click on pages at the top left-hand side here. We've got home, a static page, contact, and these other options. We're only linking to home and contact at the moment. And what we want to be able to do is to edit the template for the page which pulls in the blog post content. So let's look at that quickly. In the blog posts, we've got multiple posts lined up. And then the data that's inside of the blog posts is pulled out and then laid out on a template and then published online. So let's look at how to take that data and put it into the right place in our template. So page, if we go down to the CMS collection pages, each of the CMS collections, there are 4 in this particular site. Each of the collections has a designated template page. So we want to look at the posts template. So if I click on the cog, there's some settings in here that we can interact with, some SEO settings, for open graph settings, for what will be published to social media. And if we go into the actual page, close out of this, we'll look at the blog posts template, and you can see then that this is representative of the page that we just looked at on our example site. At the moment, it's showing a complete guide to learn project management. But if we want to see a different blog post, we can select a different blog post to look to see how that is rendered on this particular template. So let's look to see how this page works then. It's a layout just like the page that we've been interacting with, but each one has that a connection back to the CMS. So for example, this display, this heading, H1, we'll click on the cog, we can see that this text is being pulled from the blog post title. Now, if I click on the drop down here, we could see, let me scroll up a little. Click on the drop down. There are any number of data points that are taken from the CMS that we could designate to go into this place. So for example, we could put the excerpt content into this section. Okay, now that doesn't serve us. It's just to demonstrate that we can change the content that's pulled into that particular location on the page. And so all of the data here is being pulled in from the CMS. And when you go to that URL, it'll be pulled in dynamically. So what we want to do then is we've changed the home page, but let's change the blog post page so that we can show or hide anything on this page that we want to see or don't want to see. For example, here's a reference to the part of the page that we hid on the home page. So let's do that now then. So if we click on the pages, click on blog post template so we know we're in the right place. And we want to scroll down and we click on part of the page we want to hide. Might just hide this social media part as well. So we'll hide the divider. And we'll hide this section here. So let's head on the page. And then if you remember, we're unable to hide this whole section itself. So we're going to wrap it in a div, and we're going to take a div block, put it inside the div block, and then apply the hide class to the div block. So let's click to see where we need to drop this. So click on page wrapper, we'll hit the plus, drop in a div block, open the navigator, take the div block to the right place, and drop the premium content into the div block. Click on the div block and then hide it. We preview the page. Again, we want to make our edits in the base breakpoint. And that's what the blog post page will look like now. So we'll stop there for now. And that's how we take a Webflow template and prepare it for pulling in our CMS content by hiding the parts of the page that we don't want to be there just now. And then when we're ready to, we would just hit publish, makes it live. When it's ready, we'll go and check that page. Okay. Refresh that page. This is what it looks like. And then we could also click on this feature post to go and see what that looks like, because we've edited the template as well. Okay, so we're in good shape. If we look at the settings, I go to this W here, hover over the W in the top left, it becomes a hamburger menu. Click on this. We're going to go out to the site settings. Let's have a quick look in there. So we can change the name. We can change the favicon. So if you look to the top here, to the left of the name of this post is this icon here. And we can change that by uploading a new one. You can see the sizes here. And then web clip image, which would be used on an iPhone and in other places as well now. As time goes on, that I see that represented in other places, but you can make that update here as well. And some other settings inside of here that we can look back on. So we're back into our design element.